Welcome back to Up to Speed Special Edition, StarCraft the story so far. Heart of the Swarm, it's been a blast. Talking about what has happened all the way into Act 3 is where we're going to start. We have some questions from chat, though. Lauren, go ahead. Hit us with the questions.
Hold on. I don't want you to look at me.
All right.
I want to try to stump you.
I won't look.
Don't look. Okay, hold on. We're getting there. Okay. I really don't want you to look.
Okay, I'm not looking.
So in HOTS, members of all three races have knowledge about the return of the Xel'Naga, but none seem to be doing anything about it. Do they feel like the return is going to be aggressive, or are they still not sure?
Well, the people that know is Zeratul, one, and he even tells Sarah, I have to go back to my people to tell them what's going on. I'll leave their judgment up to, in their hands. Sarah knows for sure, and that furthers into the game the more people that she meets and the choices that she makes. And the Terran are interested via two people. One, Jake Ramsey, and two, Valerian Manx. We'll talk about that more. Yeah, we'll talk about that more towards the end of our discussion today.
We also can't miss the prophecy from Wings of Liberty. Zeratul told Jim Raynor all about this.
Exactly, which fuels Jim Raynor to help Kerrigan, one, to save her, and two, if she dies, it means the end of the entire universe.
Right, save the cheerleader, save the world.
Yeah.
There you go.
So Jim knows as well.
Well, it's like the hero can never die in the movie.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
Spoiler alert.
We'll see. Okay, Act 3. You get a message on your Leviathan ship, and Isha says, we're receiving a message that's Zerg, but not part of the swarm. In pops in this visual representation of somebody talking to you with two glowing eyes and a glowing thing on their face. And I immediately thought of Vivi from Final Fantasy. It's like, why was Vivi contacting me? He's not in this game, but it wasn't him. And you hear the accent of when he speaks. And after I played the message 2 or 3 more times, my jaw dropped, my hands flew off the keyboard, and I shouted pretty loud that my neighbors could hear me.
God,
it's Stukov! I went nuts, man. I went nuts when this happened. I did not see this coming whatsoever. Blizzard played this card so close to their chest. There was a couple questions at BlizzCon. Hey, is he still alive? What's going on? And I think Brian Kendrigan said, well, stay tuned to find out. He may not be done. I thought, come on, that's not a real answer. But it was amazing to me, Kevin. What was your reaction?
Oh, honestly, I'm right there in the same boat with you. I was ecstatic as soon as I saw that. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like it's I can't even explain it. Again, Nerd Chills number 2, right? Like that was
no,
so
I think it's number
cool.
3. I think you're on 3 for Nerd Chills.
All right, well, I've just had so many, I've lost count. All right, so this is number 3, because number 4 is coming up. But yeah, this was so awesome. And again, going to that question that Lauren asked from the chat before, this tied in perfectly, the UED, Brood War, and now Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah, this person ties in so well to Brood Lore and the lore of Brood War, and it makes you realize, wow, this guy's been through a lot. Oh, yeah. We actually had another group of individuals that were super excited to have Stukov into the game, and they actually delve into the history of who this person is and how he came to be. Let's go ahead and see what BlizzPlanet had to say.
Hey Clutch, Chris Arnone here with BlizzPlanet.com, and we're going to share our favorite story moments from StarCraft II, Heart of the Swarm. Check it out.
Something we found fascinating in the Heart of the Swarm lore is the reintroduction of Stukov as an ally of Kerrigan. Stukov was Vice Admiral of the battlecruiser Alexander at the service of the United Earth Directorate, or UED for short. In StarCraft Brood War, Stukov was betrayed by his best friend, Admiral Gerard Dugal, when Duran lied about Stukov's intentions with the Psi Disruptor in planet Braxis. This resulted in Dugal asking Duran to kill Stukov. Brood War players saw a cinematic where Stukov's coffin was launched into space, so it might have confused some players to see Stukov in Heart of the Swarm.
But all wars have casualties, and while Directorate losses were minimal, the fleet's Vice Admiral Stukov gave his life during the final valiant assault on Char. Memorial services were held aboard the Directorate flagship Alexander. Vice Admiral Stukov truly knew the meaning of sacrifice.
However, exclusive only to StarCraft Nintendo 64 players, Stukov was resurrected by a Zerg Cerebrit named Kaloth in the Resurrection 4 secret mission. Artanis asked Jim Raynor and Dragoon Taldarin to inject a nanotech serum into Stukov to cure his Zerg infestation. It's interesting to see Stukov in Heart of the Swarm, because then the Nintendo 64 version of the game is canon. Players can left-click on Stukov several times during the mission. Kerrigan is fighting evil Narud, and his voiceover gives players a rundown on his confusing transformations.
Let's recap. I was betrayed and killed, shot into space, captured by the Zerg, resurrected and infested, cured, given to Mobius to research the Protoss cure, and was instead experimented on as the cure slowly failed. Everyone up to speed? Good.
Stukov's presence in Heart of the Swarm brings up so many lore questions. Does Blizzard Entertainment plan to visit the post-apocalyptic planet Earth in the last StarCraft II episode, Legacy of the Void? Or maybe in the next StarCraft game?
You can't go home again.
I know. I have no place on Earth now.
I mean, I won't let you. Your return would be noticed by the government of Earth. They might consider another expedition to our little corner of space.
They will come back someday, you know.
I do, and I will be ready for them.
Think about it. Why was the UED in the Ko-Prulu sector? How did they know so much about the Zerg? The shapeshifter Duran/Narud has been known by many names throughout the millennia. Could it be possible it was he who experimented on humanity's telepathic potential and orchestrated the supercarrier's launch into space disguised as a human? Why is it Mensk and Narud/Duran were working together? Did they meet all the way back when Mensk was imprisoned? That time when he saw the Confederates had Zerg specimens? Could both have masterminded Sarah's fate in order to use her powers to awaken the fallen Zel Naga Amon? There are so many potential lore twists and flashbacks Blizzard can explore via graphic novels, short stories, and so many other things, building the blocks that led to present affairs. Mickey Nielsen and Cameron Dayton have said via Twitter, 2013 will be a great year for lore fans. Keep an eye on new StarCraft lore projects. Be sure to check out BlizzPlanet.com for all the news, reviews, and a fantastic community all related to Blizzard Entertainment games. You can also follow us on Twitter at BlizzPlanet, or go to YouTube/BlizzPlanetGaming to watch our weekly BlizzPlanet show. Thanks for watching.
Fascinating things, BlizzPlanet. Thank you for those questions and that great history of Stukov, which is really, really funny when you get up to speed. We are up to speed now, Stukov. Thanks for that. Kevin, your thoughts on some of the points that BlizzPlanet brought up?
Well, definitely hearts to BlizzPlanet. I love those guys. Otherwise, they did an awesome job at recapping Alexei Stukov, infested Stukov now. Again, when you click on him a bunch of times, that was one of the key things I was going to bring up because I just thought that was hilarious as I was playing through it. He kind of, he tells his own story, how he's been killed and resurrected and cured with the serum and infested again, and it's insane. This guy is like the Terran version of Phoenix, really, except Phoenix is dead, kinda.
Phoenix is gone.
Anyway, yeah, Stukov, very cool character. I'm impressed. He's back for good, seems like, because Kerrigan won't let him leave for Legacy of the Void. So now we have 3 different pieces to the swarm. We've got Kerrigan's Reborn Swarm. We've got Dahaka and his Primal Zerg. And then, of course, we now have Stukov with his little infested Terrigan gang, whatever we want to call them. But they're all part of this Reborn Swarm, which I believe is key to keep returning back to for Heart of the Swarm.
Very powerful allies indeed. Some of the questions I'd like to address real quickly from BlizzPlanet. I don't know if we'll ever see a post-apocalyptic Earth, the Earth that lives now in the time of StarCraft. I don't know if we'll ever see that. It could be a possibility we will. They knew about the swarm because they had spies in the Ko-Prulu sector and they had been watching what was going on for a long time. Was Samir Duran involved all the way back then with the crash ships and such as that? If he was, then he had to gamble a lot on random chance maybe for that to happen. I don't think he was involved all the way back then. I don't know. We know that the Xel'Naga saw the humans but decided not to interfere whatsoever. They knew of them, but they weren't involved. Maybe Amon felt that that was a mistake. Maybe all of this came about to actually incorporate incorporate the humans? We're not sure, but it does bring up a lot of interesting questions and intriguing routes the lore can take. We'll have to see where Blizzard takes us on that journey. Moving on, though, we need to talk about one of the most important figures that comes out of Brood War and is tied into this entire journey of the Xel'Naga, Amon, the Zerg, and the Protoss, and the hybrids. Now, the hybrids owner makes control, and they must be destroyed. That's why Stukov reaches out to Kerrigan in the first place. And Stukov reveals, in a conversation piece, in dialogue, that Amon has a lackey, and his name is Newerth. This guy, who pretends to be your friend, head of the Mobius Foundation and Wings of Liberty, betrays you in Flashpoint, tries to kidnap Sarah Kerrigan and use her for his own plans, whatever they are, even though he helped you to recover all the artifacts. And with that betrayal in Flashpoint, you know where his colors lie, where his loyalties lie. As Stukov reveals that he is a shapeshifter, that it is implied he is Samir Duran. Unfortunately, this is my opinion, unfortunately, Samir Duran is never mentioned in the game, nor is an image or likeness ever portrayed in the game. I felt this really was a huge missed opportunity. We as fans were waiting just to hear his name for so long, for 15 years almost. And of course it's implied because Stukov says he's the one that killed me, and the person that shot him was Samir Duran. Right. So yes, it is the same person. However, I wanted to be spoon-fed a little bit more, something a little bit more concrete when it came to him and his tie to Newerth. But he is a shapeshifter, and we definitely saw that later on. But in those missions themselves, the hybrids are a match for Kerrigan. That's the dangerous part about them, is that psionically, physically, they can take down Kerrigan. But with Stukov's help, she is able to overcome them, which is huge. You know, they may still be in their infant state, or it means with the allies that Kerrigan has, foreshadowing, she can overcome the weapons that Amon is trying to create that will destroy the entire universe. Sixen, your thoughts about this before we move on to the reveal of Newerth and the fight sequence?
It's essentially everybody just trying to prevent the prophecy from coming to pass. We don't want Amon to return. We need to do whatever we can to ensure that happens, obviously, because of what we know from Zeratul and Jim Raynor from Wings of Liberty. So interesting stuff, and from a gameplay perspective, I guess lore as well. This mission was actually really cool. Essentially what you were was infested Terrans fighting against Protoss Zerg hybrids. I thought those are cool when you think about it. That's an interesting touch. Definitely interesting.
It definitely is, and to see the Tal'Darim, which we'll talk about more, going into the Legacy of the Void and how they tie in to all this, is one of the many different splinter groups of the Tal'Darim of the Protoss tribes. Let's take a look at what Newerth looked like for a second when he does this Kamehameha-type green laser shooting out that Sarah shoots her own psionic laser. It's this green being that emanates from the body of Newerth. I don't know if that's his true form, if that's a manifestation of the power of the Xel'Naga, if that's what Amon really looks like. We don't know. When I saw that in the game, I went, what is happening? And then in the mission itself, you finally are able to defeat him. Also, which I thought was a neat piece of artwork, but it actually turned out to be canon, which is an amazing portrait in the game, is the green version of Newerth, where he has green eyes, green emanations from his face that actually look like Sarah Kerrigan's, I don't want to say scar patterns or patterns on her face that are purple. And that is intriguing as well, because you start to think, what is Newerth? Is he a Xel'Naga? Is he another race? What we do know is that he works for Amon and he wants to resurrect his master. His master is dead, essentially. And Kevin, is there anything else we need to cover about this gentleman before we see his final moments?
I don't believe so. I think this is a great time to head into that clip.
Okay, let's go ahead and watch the final moments of Samir Duran / Dr. Newerth. Let's take a look.